Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Decade Parade. I'm Tim.
And I'm Liam.
The premise behind this podcast, which we've decided to start, is basically going back 10 years, looking over the month of releases, and picking a game out that we wanted to play.
And that we can easily get a hold of.
Cheap.
Cheaper chips.
Which is usually easy on PC, so most of the games are probably going to be available on PC as well.
Yeah.
But we'll try and pick things that are obviously not just PC-centric and mainly console.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's just mostly going to be about what we can get a hold of easily without having to
go and buy old consoles.
Spend stupid amounts to get it and stuff.
I mean, I don't own a PS3 anymore or a 360 anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, we can go back and play stuff on backwards, through PS Now and
yeah. But even then, PS Now doesn't have everything that we might need.
No, but I mean,
especially like the more obscure games.
But I suppose if it's a big exclusive, then I mean, we'll find a way.
Yeah,
one way or another, whether it's an emulator.
Pretty much, yeah.
But we won't say that.
Shh, forget, delete that.
So basically, that's that. That's the premise.
So I think to start things off, we're just going to basically talk about like what else came out in January 10 years ago. 2009. God, I feel so old. I feel so old already.
Shall we just go through the list? The entire list?
Yeah.
So I've literally copied this straight from Wikipedia.
Yes.
I mean,
so if you want to read along at home, by all means do.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go on Wikipedia, can you? Copy and paste.
Yeah. So how we got through school.
So the first time, I'll just go my way down. Sandy Beach on We Were.
Never heard of it.
Nope. Bigfoot Collision Course.
I'm well aware of Bigfoot, but not the game.
Nintendo DS. Don't even know.
Ellie Bits, The Adventures of Kai and Zero. I have no idea what that is.
Saints Row 2, which we will go into because this was going to be a weekly podcast.
And then we realised...
Saints Row being the first week of January, that game was an absolute mess to play.
I actually played it many, many years ago on the PlayStation 3 not long after it came out. But because it came out so long ago, I don't remember half of the stuff that happened on anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm glad. I mean, it was hard enough to fit into our schedule anyway, and I think we soon scrapped the weekly idea, and we've just switched to monthly.
Yeah, considering that we both have full-time jobs, we both have our own life stuff to deal with. Yeah, there was really, really no time.
So yeah, we switched that. But I did put in about 3 hours in Saints Row, and I think I put in about 5 hours of modding it. So it worked, and then in the end, the controls. I'm playing it with the controller on PC. The controls ended up just mirroring, and they all just mixed up. It's just dropping papers everywhere. It's all right.
I can do it.
It was just an absolute mess. So don't buy that one.
Not on PC anyway.
I'm just glad I got it on offer for about £2.
But if you want to play it on a PlayStation 3, by all means, because it's actually quite good on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, it's probably alright on console. So if you've got a console, I mean, to be fair, the 3 hours that I did play, I did start enjoying. But there were so many things I had to slow it down. It was like playing at 2 times speed.
Yeah,
it was sped. It was just all. I was playing it for about an hour, and I thought this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right at all. And then when I actually Googled it, I realised that it was just. Yeah, it's not actually supposed to be like this. And then I found all kinds of mods that fix. There was people saying you had to close down your CPU cores.
Oh god!
If
you have to do that with a video game, you should probably just stop playing it there and then.
There's plenty of other things. Don't bother wasting your time. Next on the list, Cuboid.
I actually recall Cuboid. I've not played it. I do remember seeing it. Isn't it about like it's kind of like Portal, but solely on cubes?
Yeah, I remember. I think I can picture the logo, but
I can picture it's like yellow, red, blue, and green cubes.
Yeah,
something like that. It was something like that. Anyway,
that's why it's called Cuboid.
Cuboid.
Neighborhood games. We obviously. Planet Pachinko.
Is that a fucking Konami game?
I wish I had a list of developers for these as well. It probably is.
Deal or no deal? I bet that's quite good on the Wii. That.
I bet it's not that bad. Yeah, but it's quite a good party game.
Yeah, I bet it's quite a good like family party game.
We'll skip the next one.
We'll skip the next one for reasons.
Moon.
I
mean
that's pretty self-explanatory.
Lord of the Rings Conquest, which
we did get some suggestions about reviewing this, didn't we?
So someone actually said, "Oh, you should do this one," and then I stupidly went and looked and realised that he was taking the piss, and that it's literally impossible to find and buy anywhere. So the window. High Voltage Hot Rod Show.
Is that Snow or Show?
Sure.
show us.
What the next one says.
Tonelico 2 Melody of Metaphallia for the PS2. Bloody hell.
PS2 is still coming out 10 years ago, obviously.
Imagine Fashion Party. I can imagine it.
Star Ocean Second Evolution. Have you ever played Star Ocean?
I played a bit of the one of the newest ones. It was like a demo. It's like your typical JRPG, like
Right.
Final Fantasy, but in space kind of thing.
I feel like they're always coming out, and I've just never heard of anybody actually playing them. Big Bang Mini.
It's like a smaller Big Bang.
Skate 2, which, to be
Skate 2,
honest,
which, yes, we all miss greatly.
if that was on PC, I think we would have just been playing that. Just
Yeah.
because.
It's Skate, you can't go wrong with it.
Sim Animals.
Is that Animals, but for the Sims game?
Yeah. I assume.
Need I say any more?
The Maw. I feel like I've heard of that one. I've seen that one, but I can't remember. MLB
Front Office Manager.
I didn't realise there was manager games of MLB. I thought only manager games existed for FIFA.
It sounds like one of the Office Simulator games.
Afro Samurai.
Good anime, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'll take your word on it. Coraline.
I thought I said cocaine then, Christ.
Coraline.
Wasn't that the movie?
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know they
literally-
made a game of that.
Well, when I was looking at this, I actually searched it, and
Is it?
It's on the PS2, DS, and Wii. PS2 again. Is it really that? Was PS2 still in 10 years?
Must have been done. It must have been. PSP was as well, which is surprising.
I think what kept the PSP going for a while. Everybody just pirated games.
Yeah, because you get so many free games on it.
DJ Max Fever. Was that basically the Guitar Hero version? But
No, it's not DJ Hero.
yeah.
Anyway,
Rygar, the Battle of Argos.
is that Battle of Argos? Is that the prequel to fucking Rise?
Oh no.
Sounds like it could be.
Next on the list, Savage Moon.
Is that the sequel to Moon?
In the same
Got
month.
Moon and Savage Moon.
That's a quick turnaround.
Shit got crazy.
I think, and the first game on the list here for Linux at the bottom, Jets and Guns,
Got all Linux.
which I assume was pre-released another time. I will note as well this list, even though there's some on here for January 2019. On the list for 2009. Oh god. These are just what's released on that platform. So going from that, the subject of this month's podcast is Mirror's Edge, and I will note that even though this came out in November 2008, so it's technically not 10 years
Technically
ago,
not 10 years, but...
the PC version came out in January 2009.
And so that's what we played. We played the PC version.
So we've been playing Mirror's Edge, covering that. We decided that was the one from this month that we both wanted to play.
Plus, I think our main reason is because it was quite a short game as well, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did not have much time
No, I mean,
when we decided this.
like we said, we tried doing Saints Row, and that I looked at that. That was about 20 hours it said
Yeah.
to beat, and
Mirror's Edge is more around the ballpark of like 6 hours.
it said 6, but
Yeah.
it didn't even take that
It
long.
didn't even
to
feel
be
like
honest.
that long, to be honest.
So we'll get into that.
And that is going to be our topic of conversation for the majority of this podcast.
So the developers of Mirror's Edge, DICE,
Good old DICE,
Yeah.
back in the good old days.
but they did use Unreal Engine
hmm
because Frostbite was still pretty early on. I assume it wasn't ready. It was obviously not ready. 'Cause they
Obviously
didn't
not,
use it.
yeah.
But saying that, the game still looks.
It does really look good. It's mainly the I feel like it's like the color palette choice that they use that really makes it stand out for me.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like really bright white colors mixed with like your reds to make like the environments really stand out.
Well, they used the reds, didn't they?
Yeah,
They
it's
call
like
it-
indicate where you need to go.
They call it
But-
Runavision.
Run a vision, yeah. But that's like it's not just the red. It's like so it's one moment you're in like a hallway where everything's like green and white, and then you're in another hallway where everything's suddenly yellow and white, and it really just creates that like really like even though it's like just a basic boring hallway, like it really stands out.
I can't think of anything else like even now, to be honest.
Like uses that kind of like thing.
And obviously, if anybody's listening to Edges, so I mean, it's one of them. You immediately see a screenshot of it, you know it's Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
There's mistaking what it is.
Like I said, there's only 2 games of it out right now, but even then, it's like most people know what Mirror's Edge is because it really was like one of the pioneers of like first person parkour.
Because it was at a time when Call of Duty, Battlefield.
Yeah, stuff like that was all you saw from first person stuff.
First-person shooters
Yeah.
where you were king.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
To do something like this was pretty.
It was really ballsy.
Yeah, pretty.
And it paid off. Like, it's not perfect, but
Did it pay off?
I think it works. It didn't work perfectly though.
I think I saw an article saying the lifetime sales of Mirror's Edge 1 were about 2.5 million units, which isn't great. It's not bad.
Bear in mind, it's like a new IP, the first game in a new IP.
But it is across 3 platforms.
That is true.
That's probably why it took them so long to make a sequel as well.
Well, yeah, true. But I think that it's because it got a sequel and a lot of people know what Mirror's Edge is. I like to think that it did. It achieved what it was going for.
Yeah, I think the main reason it got a sequel, I mean, we'll go into that, but the main reason it got a sequel because obviously a lot of fans banged on about it a lot.
Yeah.
Rather than...
I remember when they showed it at E3 because you could hear the audience's reaction. Like when they finally showed Catalyst, everyone went crazy.
I don't remember that, to be honest.
I do, like, because I think it's because like at the time a sequel for Mirror's Edge was pretty much. I don't think anyone thought it was going to happen.
So was this your first playthrough of Mirror's Edge?
Yes.
You never played it before?
No.
Same.
Yeah, there you go. Then.
Yeah. To be honest, even today, I think it holds up visually. I was surprised how well it looked.
Yeah.
Even though I did have to play around in the settings.
So did I, yeah.
There was screen tearing.
Screen tearing, the FOV was really small. You couldn't change it in the in-game menus, which is...
There was VSync in the menus, but you didn't do anything. You had to physically go to the NVIDIA control panel and force it on in there. But, I mean, if you're playing on console...
That wouldn't matter
It's not going to be an issue. It's literally just PC, which is, to be honest, if you're going to play it now, it's probably
PC is the best way to go,
the best place to play. 60 frames per second, obviously. It's only a 10-year-old game, so most of these gonna.
It's like another visual thing is. Did you play yours with that PhysX support on?
I saw that you should turn it off.
Yeah, you really should. You know why?
I think I turned it off right at the beginning, so I don't know what the difference was.
I decided to play with it on. You know why you should turn it off?
Why?
Because there was one bit just when you find your sister and she's with that guy who's just been shot.
Oh yeah.
And you got to start running.
Spoilers.
If you're not playing Mirror's Edge by now and you're listening to this, and you're gonna get spoiled, and you kind of deserve it if you've been spoiled. But yeah, and then you start running away from the blues, and then there's always a bit where they shoot through this glass window, and with the physics on, all the glass shards hit the floor, and when all the glass shards hit the floor, it drops your frame rate to about 10, 15 frames per second.
Even now,
yeah. Even on my decently made PC, it's still.
That's the problem with some of these. I think it was around the time where a lot of games were just ported onto PC.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were just so poorly done. It was just like such a second thought, an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just do it just because it's got to be on PC.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, but it's another market.
Plus, considering the PC version of Mirror's Edge came out so long after the console version did, it's obvious that the
2 months.
Well, even so.
But yeah.
But it's obviously a port. But yeah, so I turned physics off and it was all nice then. So when they shot through the glass, the glass literally just disappears.
Yeah, I think I saw an article about it, so I think I turned it off straight from the beginning.
And you should for good reasons.
Yeah, so I didn't know it. Good job you mentioned that.
So if you do plan on playing it, do keep that in mind.
In terms of story,
I wasn't too impressed with the story.
It's mediocre.
It's basic. Like, there's no moments that make you sit there and think like, God, I really loved it.
I mean, the voice acting is
average, I'd say.
What you'd expect from. I'm not saying that because there were some pretty good games with some good voice acting.
Yeah.
In 2009, but it felt like it was a PS1 voice acting.
No, it wasn't that bad. It's definitely no freaking.
What is it? Resident
Evil, Jill Sandwich and all that. It's definitely not that bad.
Deadly Premonition. So that always rings a bell. But.
Oh God, did that come out 10 years ago? I really want to go through that game again.
I think it probably isn't that long. Actually.
Oh God, that was so funny. But yeah, anyway.
I thought the voice acting was.
It did its job. I was happy with it. It wasn't good.
Towards the end of the game, to be honest, I didn't think about it, so it can't have been that bad. But at first, I think going back to some of these games, it's quite jarring.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll all get used to. And if we keep going with
if we keep going with this, it was nothing special. It kept you it kept you interested.
You basically play as a runner. They're called runners, and they're basically like a carrier.
Yeah, it's basically like in this world where like society's like under constant surveillance and everything's being monitored, and basically imagine Big Brother, but like for a whole city, and like so many rules in places where you just can't get away with anything. But yeah, so you have these people called runners, and what their job is basically is to get sensitive information that would normally be caught and get you into a lot of trouble if you sent it using any other means. They're basically couriers, but with a lot more parkour involved.
FedEx. FedEx for messages.
They're what UPS will be in the future.
Yeah. So that's basically that's the whole.
That's basically it. Yeah. So
the story, and then there's a few twists. Obviously, there wouldn't be a.
Basically, we can talk about the whole story. Like it's been 10 years.
Yeah, if you're gonna play it and if
you've not played it by now, yeah.
To be honest, I wouldn't play it for the story.
No,
so I wouldn't worry too much anyway.
I don't think most people played it for the story.
No.
But yeah, in a nutshell, your sister gets framed for killing a guy. You go out your way to find out who really did it and clear your sister's name.
And then you end up discovering kind of.
Oh yeah, like what was it called? The Icarus program, where the Blues were. By the way, the Blues are the police. By the way.
Yeah, they training.
They were training their own runners, and like it turned out like your friend was one of them. And again, it's nothing special.
Getting to that though, I mean, once you discover the Icarus project, whatever they call it,
it is Icarus, yeah.
There's a bit where you see the guy running about throughout the levels. It's obviously you're going through the level.
Yeah.
There was some points where I saw someone running on like an adjacent building.
Yeah.
It's like, who the fuck is that? And then you get to a point and you have to fight him or her. You don't really know because it's got a mask on.
Although the female grunts when you hit it do sort of give it away.
Oh, I missed that. It was sort of manly grunt. But you're on top of the crates. Do you remember that bit?
On the crate. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was possibly one of the worst boss fights.
It was.
It's absolutely shameful that was even passed. I mean, I think that's the combat in general throughout this game.
Oh, it was definitely an afterthought of combat. The main focus was the parkour. The combat felt like someone just came into the office one day and said, we can't just have running in this game, right? We're going to have some sort of combat to keep people interested. So, okay. And then they just sort of made what they made. I did read something about when they was deciding. They was initially going to start you with a gun, and they decided against that. That would have made the game too. You can use guns, but you can use guns. They're very limited, like the ammo and stuff. You have to disarm the enemies, and then you get them and shoot them. It's just shite. I never disarmed any of them. I always punched them and like knocked them out first, then took it. Right. Okay. I think I didn't even realise. I forgot that you could disarm until halfway through the game. I did not even know you could use guns until chapter 5. You know why? Because I skipped the training bit at the beginning. You know why? There was one bit that was so finicky. It's like where it teaches you to like run up the wall, quickly press the button to lock behind you, then you jump back up onto another platform. The way they wanted you to do it perfectly, like what's her name? That Celeste girl. Yeah. Because she's showing you what to do. Yeah. They wanted you to do it perfectly like she did. And if you don't, it fails you and you have to try it again. And that's in the tutorial. Yeah. And every time I always landed perfectly on top of the board, but you had to hit it. You had to grab the ledge and pull yourself back up. Yeah. But I always landed perfectly on top of it, which for me would be fine. But it kept failing me because I always landed on top of it. So I skipped the training. So it was very... Well, I did the training and I even forgot that you could disarm or use weapons. And I did it in the tutorial. So yeah, I think I was about the same, about chapter 5-ish. Yeah. I was like, oh, wait. You can actually use guns. So yeah, the tutorial, not very tutorial, really. I think I was trying to rush it. I was just like, get me to the parkour. So yeah, speaking of the story, what did you think of the characters? Miss Eye Tattoo and Miss Blonde Hair. I think that was the names. Yeah, that was it. Faith and Celeste. That's just how memorable they were. I don't know. I like Faith because it was mainly because of those moments where she kept meeting that police officer in like the underground car parks. Yeah. Because she was very much like Batman in those scenes. It got more interesting. Like I say, at first it was a bit jarring now. It comes with an animated series type thing as well as cutscenes. Yeah, I thought those were quite stylish, the cutscenes. It really aided to like the overall aesthetic of what they were going for. Yeah, and they did a comic book as well. Oh, did they?
afterwards,
All right.
after the game.
Yeah.
Alongside.
Which makes sense because that's very much what the cutscenes were set out to be like
Yeah.
comics. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the comic was pre Mirror's Edge.
Oh, was it?
So it was basically letting you know more about Fifth,
That's fair enough.
which apparently is quite good.
Oh, is it?
So I've heard.
No, I'll have to view it.
It builds more up, like, a personality and all the rest of it, and a backstory and
Give
and
us some
whatnot.
actual personality.
But I genuinely can't even remember what she sounds like or anything memorable whatsoever.
There was one moment that's literally the only moment I remember about it. It's when I think when she meets that police officer guy in the car, like on the underground car park, and he's saying to her something like, "Oh yeah, they're coming for you and stuff." It's like, so you better get really good at running. And she goes, "That's what I do best." And then she disappears. And that's literally the only the moment I remember.
Is that where she rams him up against the wall type thing?
No, that was when
that
she meets him
someone
the second time.
All right, yeah. I remember that bit. I don't know why.
It was getting good.
Right, so I think we've gone over a lot of the story. Enough of the story, because there's not much of it anyway. But what do you think of the general flow of the game? Because I have a few issues with it.
Yeah, same here. It's pretty clear why there wasn't many first-person parkour games up until that point. It's because it's difficult to make work perfectly. It does what it does well, but there's so many there's so many moments where I got really pissed off with it. It's just because it's so easy to lose your sense of direction, especially during the more hectic moments when you're trying to run away from people shooting at you. You're trying to get up a ledge.
Each level seemed to be structured like one half was you get to the point, nothing really happens. You've just got to work your way up through the level. And the second half was now you've got to get out.
Yeah.
And then everyone's shooting at you.
Yeah, that was.
And there's nothing you can do. I mean,
No.
like I say, you can disarm them and stuff, but
it's just quicker to just run past them. That's what I ended up doing.
the combat is so poor.
It's
It's pointless, and the animations of the combat were just disgusting, in a word. But the flow through the actual level, I think some of the level design was pretty horrible.
You think so?
Yeah, I think there's certain levels that work really well, and then other levels, like you said, where you just completely lose your way.
Yeah.
And I think they could have done that. There were some points where I was getting it's definitely not on par. There's some points where I was definitely getting a Portal vibe, and it's definitely not on the same level.
Not
as
in a
Portal.
good way.
But do you know what I mean? I think it was more the visuals, to be honest. Where it's quite neutral throughout the whole white walls, that. I think that's the only thing that comes close visually, and I was getting that vibe because there are some bits where it's treated like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Find that way, find the fastest way.
Yeah.
But then you get to some levels, and I think the level design it stopped you.
There was one mission that took place on a boat that really frustrated me. It's just there's so many cramped corners, pipes sticking out. It's nothing's clear where you're supposed to
just not
jump and
corridors.
grab. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's things like that.
Yeah. One good thing though I will say about it is there's no one set way that you take to get to where you need to go. There's always a few ways that you can traverse the levels. Yeah. So it gives you some small degree of player choice of how you want to get from point A to B.
Which those levels, the more open ones.
Yeah. The rooftop ones usually.
Were so much better, especially later on in the game when you're getting used to the mechanics and jumping and scaling and stuff like that. When you actually get used to it and you start stringing it together, the flow of it then, it did feel good.
Like I say, they do make it work. Once you as you said, there is a flow to the whole thing. It's once you get into a rhythm of jumping and sliding and hopping over things and wall running, it does feel really good and it works, and I actually enjoy it.
The only thing I can compare it to is playing a racing game when you're doing a time trial.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to hit those corners spot on every time to get that perfect time in. And obviously this game has a time trial mode, which I didn't really bother playing.
I didn't either,
no,
because it would have been the same.
That's what I can compare it to, really. You've got to, it's rinse and repeat.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error because the amount of times I died in that game was ridiculous. Which I will say, on the PC, the loading times between death and restarting again are pretty much non-existent, which is good because
it was
if it wasn't,
it was like playing a side scroller game where where the whole Super Meat Boy or something where it's just straight reload and go again.
Which which is good because if it was any longer than that, like just with the sheer amount of times I died from pure trial and error, it's
that sound, the sound when you fall off a building.
Yeah,
it's like a train coming towards you, and then it's like it gets louder, and it's like a rush of like water, like I did that. Yeah, I've heard that so many times. That's what I remember more than the story.
Dreams.
Yeah, but overall, I think towards the end, the flow definitely got better.
Yeah,
I think it didn't do a good enough job early on in early levels to ease you into it.
Yeah,
it kind of like give you a tutorial, and then it was like, right, every level is pretty much consistent now, within reason, obviously, like, apart from the corridor levels, but like within difficulty and actual flow of the level. Straight away from the first level, they were all pretty much identical.
Especially with like the rooftop levels, like if they made me do the same exact rooftop level again and again, I probably would not have been able to tell the difference, because every rooftop bit felt exactly the same. The only bits that stood out was when you're actually inside buildings.
I think I'm glad it was only. It says it was 6 hours long when we looked on the internet, but I think it took me between 4 or 5 hours. Yeah,
each mission took me roughly about 20-30 minutes to finish.
Yeah, and I'm glad.
Yeah,
I think if it went on for any more, I think, like I say, because it was quite samey.
Yeah,
I would have got bored.
There just was not enough variety to keep a game like that going for too long. No. They might have fixed that problem in the sequel.
Well, I've heard bad things about the sequel.
Oh, have you?
And I've heard it sold less than.
Oh, did it? Never mind then.
So I don't think we'll ever be getting another Mirror's Edge. I think that's definitely dead in the water now.
Yeah, but you never know. Fans might kick up enough of a fuss to get one, but like Tim said, I really don't think either that they'll get another one, unless it's like some very cheap, basic kind of game.
So would you recommend it?
Yeah, considering you can get like cheap as chips like I did right now, it's worth at least one playthrough.
I think it's difficult not to recommend anything when it's £2.
Exactly, yeah. It's like
£2.
You spend more on that on food every day, so it is definitely worth.
I think it's definitely worth one playthrough.
Yeah, at least. Like I say, it's 6 hours long. It's somewhat unique and different. You don't get many games like it. As frustrating as it can be at times.
That said, is there any other alternatives that you would rather recommend over Mirror's Edge?
Yeah, Dying Light, basically Mirror's Edge, but with zombies.
That's exactly what I was hoping for. That's exactly what I'd say.
But yeah, I mean, I was a lot less frustrated with the parkour in that game than I was playing Mirror's Edge, and that had like better combat. It's not a fair comparison because Mirror's Edge obviously came out a lot longer before.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Dying Light came out, so Dying Light had a lot more time to.
I mean, I think the point is it worth your time, or is there a better alternative game that offers the similar kind of experience? And I think Dying Light.
Yeah.
If the story in Mirror's Edge was better, I'd definitely say go for that. And I think with it being so cheap, it's still worth a play.
Yeah.
But if you're only going to play one, Dying Light is absolutely. I never completed it. But what I did play was absolutely brilliant. The parkour in that is absolutely
like so intense. Like compared to like the moment where you're running away from zombies at night in Dying Light compared to when you're getting shot at in Mirror's Edge, like the different levels are in like just heartbeat and intensity is so different.
The first time I ever started that, and the first night cycle that I had in Dying Light, I hated it so much. I hated it, but in a good way, obviously, because how much pressure it put on you and how tense you become. Because you can just hear these things just roaring behind you, chasing you.
Especially if you're playing it with headphones on, it's like you can hear them in your ear.
And it's literally black.
Yeah.
At night, you can't see anything, so you're trying to find your way back. But yeah, that's another game altogether. But if you're going to pick one,
Dying Light would be the one to go for.
And I can't really think. I mean, stuff like Prince of Persia.
Yeah, but that's not.
It's third person. Yeah. It's not really.
Another similar thing I recommend is Titanfall 2. To be honest, because there's a lot of like hopping, jumping, parkour type thing. But with like it's more like jetpack, like
mech.
Enhanced. Like you got your Titans and your mechs and stuff. But the parkour in that is again, it's a lot less frustrating than it was in Mirror's Edge. A lot more enjoyable too.
I've never played it. I think I played like a demo or a beta one weekend, but I've never really delved into it.
I did get Titanfall 1, but that when it was all multiplayer. Played like a few online matches, never went back to it. Then Titanfall 2 came out with its single player. Really, really good, by the way. Like there's so many bits in Titanfall 2 that I remember. Like that's just how good it is.
And I think I've seen that for probably around the same price as what we've picked up. Mirror's Edge for sometime around $5. But,
easy.
So, and that's like what? How old is that now?
Titanfall. Did it come out like 2000? I mean, Titanfall 2 came out like 2016, 2017, right about that time.
Something like that. I mean, it's up to you. Play something newer, or go even further into the backlog and go to Mirror's Edge.
I would. Unfortunately, I don't think either of us have played Mirror's Edge Catalyst, so we can't really compare the differences between the two.
Yeah, I don't think I will be bothering either.
Yeah, if it's going to be anything similar to Mirror's Edge, like what Tim said, he's not really heard good things either about it. Like I don't feel inclined to carry on playing it.
Yeah, the sales numbers were really soft, well, compared to the first one.
Yeah,
I think it was about 1.7 million units, which, considering how much people talk about the first Mirror's Edge, I would have expected to be more than the first one. But the fact that it's less isn't a good sign,
no.
Especially for the future of it as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Dying Light, I mean, if you're not into zombies and stuff and into horror, scary type games, it's probably not for you. Then you go and play Mirror's Edge. But I know they're making a second one of that. Is that coming out this year?
Dying Light 2?
Yeah,
Dying Light. They were making a second one?
I didn't until this morning.
Oh, did you?
I actually looked and was like, Dying Light. And I looked and then it was announced at last year's E3.
Was it?
Yeah, I completely missed it.
I did as well, bloody hell.
I don't know why. But then I watched the teaser trailer and then I was like, oh yeah, I remember it.
But every time I hear something about Dying Light, it's always like some new bit of DLC has been released, or like some different edition of it. It's just like, oh, something else. Like, they really supported it well, haven't they?
Supported it so, and I've heard the DLC were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
When they added the vehicles and stuff,
yeah.
The quad bikes and stuff. I've heard it was absolutely. It's always one of them that I always thought, I need to go back on. Plus, it's co-op.
It is, yeah. That's another reason to get it over Mirror's Edge if you like your co-op.
I played the majority of it in co-op, and it was good fun.
Like I said, there's also that where you can like similar like a Dark Souls fashion where you can like invade other people's games as like one of those night zombies. So that's another element of like, oh shit, horror moments that you can add it to the game.
I'm just looking at the sales here. Actually, I've actually wrote down Michael Patcher.
Oh god, fun times.
Yeah, he estimated 1.7 and 2 million copies sold by August. That's where I got that number. I read about that number from, but then I forgot it was from Patcher. So
good old Patcher.
Is he still going?
I hope he is, because like every prediction he made was so stupid.
So he might have actually sold more then.
It might have done if it's just simply his word that we're going off,
which is not much.
Which is not much to go off.
So I think that's it for this episode.
I feel like we've pretty much talked about everything that matters, everything that you guys really need to know about. Really,
yeah, it's worth playing.
It's worth the one playthrough. That's all I can really say about it.
That's not positive at all, is it? Really?
No, I'm not saying it's terrible. It's definitely worth a playthrough. Like it definitely was like a pioneer of like creating like future games like we said, like Dying Light, or
especially when everything else was all shooty bang,
exactly.
And war and
it was unique, it was different, it worked for the most part. You're not going to get many games like it. It's worth a playthrough.
So we hope you've enjoyed this, even though it's probably been all over the place.
I mean, again, first attempt, first time doing this.
Hopefully you like it. Give us a bit of feedback.
Yeah, by all means.
Wherever.
We're gonna try and get a Twitter and
we've got Twitter. We've got
a Twitter. As you can tell, Tim's the one in charge. I'm just a pretty face.
Yeah, which obviously just type in the Decade Parade and you should be able to find us. That's it really.
Yeah. Like I said, I think we'll try and get like some sort of like email set up as well. So if you want to send us like some maybe future game suggestions or also your feedback or like what you think, then by all means do.
I suppose if people do start listening, that's probably something we'll do. Recommendations rather than us picking what to play. But that's obviously
that's future thinking.
We need to get people to listen first.
Yeah, please listen to us. We're so desperate.
But yeah, you can find us on Twitter.
Yeah.
I've already set that up.
Yeah,
I'm sure by the time you listen to this, I'll set up an email as well, which will be the Decade Parade at gmail.com.
Yeah.
I'll set that. It'll be done. I'll definitely get them. Definitely give us feedback though.
Yes, please do, because it's the only way we can improve. Again, we're sort of winging this. So if you got some suggestions, then by all means, let us hear them. Give us your brutally honest criticism.
Yes.
The brutaler, the better.
Got plenty.
Brutaler is a word.
Right. So I think that's it for this one.
Yeah, it's been a good episode, I feel.
Well, for a first one, yeah.
For a first attempt.
So we'll see you in February for the next episode.
Bye.